Manifestation works 100% of the time. We do it every day. Our lives are one big mirror of who we are being. When you start to align your energy to your connection with the Creator every day, the world around you reflects who you are. And that's how you manifest. You never manifest what you want. You manifest who you are. Until you become aware of the pattern, you repeat the pattern and call it fate. I know that's not the answer we want to hear, but the only thing that is an obstacle to what we want to receive is an energy in our system. And in that moment, we have to look at the obstacle, right? And it's not that you want to give energy to the obstacle, but the answer is in the obstacle.
Today, I have the pleasure of hosting a truly inspiring guest, Susan Carabello. Susan is a certified life and manifestation coach with over 6 years of experience, and she's also a certified yoga teacher. She has dedicated her career to guiding women who feel stuck in life to reconnect with their inner wisdom, achieve clarity, and live each day with purpose. Susan's unique approach blends the science of manifestation, spiritual law, and our mindset to help people unlock their full potential and live more aligned lives. Now, there might be some who are skeptical about the word manifestation or thought, I've tried it, it doesn't work. You're not alone. That's exactly what I want to explore today. What's holding you back and how you can unlock the full potential of yourself. So welcome, Susan. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you so much for having me today.
So I would love to start by just you sharing your journey. How did you become a manifestation coach?
Sure.
And how has your background in yoga also influenced the way you guide others? These two areas I would like for you to share a bit about.
Sure. So my spiritual awakening journey started probably back in 2018. At the beginning of 2018, just something was misaligned and was getting this push that, I had to make changes in my life, which I did, and came into coaching back in 2020 during COVID. I was actually a professional makeup artist. I was a professional makeup artist for 10 years. I lost my business during COVID. I did not work in the makeup field for almost 18 months, trying to navigate that while trying to, serve as a life coach. And, it really came down to a test of faith and trusting what the Creator had intended for me all along, which was doing exactly this. That led me to becoming a yoga instructor because I love teaching and I love speaking about spiritual law. And the interesting part is yoga is all about mind-body connection. And it's that taking that moment, that pause to get that clarity, to listen to the messages. And that's really what I teach is, can you quiet your mind down enough to listen to the messages that the Creator has for you, that the universe has for you? Because many times we are so hustle and bustle that we can't listen to the message. And when we can stop and listen to the message, we can actually create intentionally our lives with purpose and with clarity and be more confident in ourselves and the world around us.
Wow, that sounds so inspiring. So what would you say was that? So the tipping point was just losing your business and then feeling like, okay, was it a point where you were ready to give up that what you did before, and then you suddenly felt inspired to do something new? And I'm curious to know how that transition went from makeup to being a manifestation coach.
It's crazy. So I actually was working part-time. So I had a part-time job and I did makeup part-time. So at the end of 2019, I was like, I'm ready to go all in on my business, right? I had saved up the money to, support myself doing makeup. I had a business plan, I had a business coach, like I had the whole thing mapped out. And when I say within 3 months, it went from everything to, to having no work at all because I was in a very specific field. I worked in the field of film and television. So a lot of people at that point were working from home doing Zoom calls. So they didn't need makeup for TV, right? They didn't need makeup for the news. It just, they did it all themselves. So my services weren't needed. And you have a lot of time when you're at home and it's quiet to really think about what do I want to do? Like, if I can't do makeup, what am I meant to be doing? And it was really getting the tap on the shoulder because at that point I had learned to meditate, right? So I learned how to quiet my mind. I had learned how to connect. And it was like, you're meant to be a coach. You're meant to be a coach. And I'm like,
And
okay, how am I supposed to do this? Like, what's the plan? And then your logical mind, right, starts to play a factor in all of this. It's, the logical mind's like, well, we need a plan. We need to, A, B, and C. We need all these steps. How do we do this? And it was really like, can you surrender with faith that this is going to work out? And it was really a test, not a test in a typical sense, sitting down answering, but it's really, can you listen enough
Mhm.
to what the calling of your soul? And the same patterns repeat themselves until you actually start waking up to the pattern so that you can shift it and correct it. And it was during that 18 months that I remember waking up one day and I said, please tell me what to do because I'm at a loss right now. Like, I'm not working. And I was so identified with my job, and not being able to do my job was very disheartening. So I had to really, trust with faith. And I ended up going back part time to a different job just to sustain myself
Diamond.
during that period of time so that I could have some income coming in. And again, it came down to faith, like, please guide me, please show me the path. Like, and, during that time, it was really like, no, this is what you're meant to be doing. You're meant to, share your message. You're meant to share spiritual law as a teacher. So that's when yoga came into to play. And that's when my business started to really take off because I teach in a different, not in a different way. I still believe in the techniques that you can use in manifestation, the visualization, affirmations, prayer, all of it. But what I do teach is a big part is teaching you how to let go. How can you let go of the idea and the stories that come up for us, right? Because a lot of us have stories just lingering in the background saying, I can't do this. I am not capable of doing this. I show you how to release the story and how can you, get into that state of being where it's like, this is just a test. And I have a
Mhm.
choice in this moment to accept that this is a test and move ahead with faith or react the way you always do, right? And a lot of what spiritual law tells us is that, reaction is the biggest part, right? Life is 10% of what happens to you, and the 90% is how you react in that moment. If you don't react with energy, right? You just react and observe, become the observer of your life. Can you shift and move ahead with a new trajectory and outcome for yourself?
Yeah, I can totally relate to what you're saying. The 90% and the 10%. Actually, just yesterday, it happened to me that I had this desire within me that I want to get a Bluetooth microphone so I can record videos on the go
Yeah,
without having to think how far the camera is and all these things.
right.
And I had the desire, but somewhere I was like, I'm not ready to spend X amount of money for a microphone.
Listen,
And just that thought kept me away from actually having the mic. It
Right.
was not so even though I desired it and I knew that's what I want, somewhere there was that thought that, okay, this is too expensive, even though I can afford it, but it's like I'm putting what I desire as if it's not important enough for me to invest into it.
Mhm.
So my own thoughts were
Sabotaging.
basically sabotaging me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we don't do it intentionally, right? Those are the stories that are trapped in our bodies because we're used to these stories. There's lessons in these stories that, when we speak, that these stories can either hinder us or help us. And when we start to recognize or become aware of the story, that's where the power is, right? Because then you have the power to change the story into something else. But until we become aware of the story, it's a repeating pattern. There's a great quote by Carl Jung that says, and I'm going to get it right this time. Until you become aware of the pattern, you repeat the pattern and call it fate. It's something along those lines that you will repeat the pattern and say, oh, this is what was supposed to happen. But until you observe the pattern for what it is, that it's just a test, right? It's us becoming
Mm.
awakened to the pattern of our life or the lesson that we're meant to learn in this lifetime. Can we actually change it into something greater and not just for ourselves, but for our families, our relationships in the world around us?
Hmm. Yeah, I can absolutely relate to that as well. And I would even say that even in a day-to-day life, you talked about being an observer.
Hmm.
There's something that I observed as well that sometimes these situations happen to me. For example, let's say this microphone, I felt like it was too expensive. And
Hmm.
at the same time, I went to the supermarket and I saw this little girl and she picked up something from the store and she took it with her and her mom just looked back at her and she was like, we don't have the money to spend that, just put it back.
Hmm.
And so I just had that instant thought that, maybe somewhere I was told that I cannot have what I want and I have to put it back.
Right.
And so that's, somewhere I saw that happening in front of my eyes and I just observed it without judging the mother, without saying like, oh my God, what is this mother doing to her child and what are the consequences? But just seeing it for what it is and then seeing, okay, maybe that's a story that I am still also holding on to. And now my life is giving me an opportunity to change the way that I think about it, to stop judging also.
Yeah, it's interesting the way we learn the lessons, right? They come to us when we are ready to learn them. And
Mhm.
we have people come into our experience when we're ready to learn the lessons that we're meant to experience and learn in this lifetime. And I did it yesterday. And I remember when it started to like come up, I'm like, it was a moment for me to just stop and be like, no, I'm so certain in the outcome of my life at this point that I'm not going to listen to that old story, right? That's when the shift happens when you're in that moment and you can with complete certainty know that this is an old story, an old pattern coming up, and this is not who I am. And that's when you get to decide, am I going to feed this, right? And we feed it through our overthinking, worrying about the outcome, start thinking of all the different scenarios, right? So it's like this little plant, this little tree, and all of a sudden, this little tree that has like no energy whatsoever suddenly is like overthinking. And it's suddenly like branching out and it's grasping like at everything. Can we come back to just this and allow this to be here without growing branches and leaves and sticks and whatever else that goes with it?
Mm. Yeah, and there's one thing that I mentioned in the introduction that I do want to dive into, which I feel even in my own life, I've seen people say that, why doesn't manifestation work for me? I've tried it, but it's not really happening the way I wanted. I would ask you, like, what's holding them back? Why isn't manifestation working for them?
Well, manifestation works 100% of the time. We do it every day. Uh, like clockwork. I know that's not the answer we want to hear, but the only thing that is blocking us or is an obstacle to what we want to receive is an energy in our system that is, and I don't want to say an obstacle, it's an obstacle to what we want to receive. And in
Mhm.
that moment, we have to look at the obstacle, right? And it's not that you want to give energy to the obstacle, but the answer is in the obstacle. The answer that you need to learn in this lifetime is in that obstacle that is keeping you from whatever you desire. So if you are looking to manifest, you know, and I use this example, you manifest a new car, right? So let's say right now you're driving a Honda Civic, but you want to drive a Tesla, right? And you visualize yourself driving this Tesla. You can feel your hands on the steering wheel. You're getting all excited, right? And that's the energy that's going to bring that Tesla into your experience. But you go to trade in the Honda, and what happens? You take all the stuff out of the Honda, all the broken, tire parts or whatnot. You take them out of the Honda, and everything in a box from the old Honda now goes into the new Tesla, right? You're basically taking all the energy from the old car and putting it into the new car without cleaning it out, right? You're still carrying the obstacle with you. So what happens? You have this great new car, but you still, the energy is still, the obstacle's still there. So you can't keep the manifestation, right? And that's what happens. People can call the
Well,
manifestation in and it goes out as quickly as possible because the energy is not stable or clear. And that's where the answer is in that obstacle, it's in that moment. And until we can look at it and see, okay, this is a lesson for me. There's a lesson in this obstacle, and it's my job, as much as uncomfortable and as much as I don't want to, and as uncomfortable as it is, I have to look and observe this. I have to be grateful for it. I have to give gratitude for this uncomfortableness because that's where I'm going to free myself to be able to have
mm,
the experiences in life that I've always dreamed of.
mhm. Yeah, yeah. I think that's the hardest part for most people to see the obstacle or see the test
Mhm.
and then recognize that that is there to serve them to get closer to that what they want.
It's
It's
the
not something
springboard.
that is opposite.
Yeah, it's the springboard to your life. Like, it's a springboard to your change, and it's, it's imagine it's January 1st, right? And January 1st, everybody resolves that they want to get healthier, right? So they eat healthier, they go to the gym, they start taking care of themselves. But if you still have this belief that all diets don't work, my diets never
Mhm,
worked, my diet always failed, then you're setting yourself up for that to happen. Even if you're doing this stuff physically, you're physically,
mhm,
creating the new habits until you start creating the new story within, then that new body, that new health that you're craving is going to be that much harder. You can do all the physical, right? That's the matter. You're changing matter with matter. But until you change the energy which drives the matter, it's energy
mhm.
first, matter second. Until you fix this, that is not going to change. It's going to be harder to change because it's like you're fighting matter with matter, right? This is already solidified. But if you change the energy over here, this can change and mold into what exactly you need it to be.
Yeah, yeah. Everything starts in the spiritual, yeah.
Mhm.
And I do feel that because we live in such a physical world, that it's easy to get caught up with what we are seeing
Exactly.
in front of us. Like
Mhm.
if it's like somebody might listen to this right now and say that, right now I'm struggling financially. I don't have enough. I have just enough to survive. So all these concepts, they don't really make much sense to
Right.
me right now in the
Mhm.
situation that I am. And so, like, what would you say to those who might feel that they're blocked right now, but they don't really know how to get out? Like, what would be kind of the first step or the first steps that they could take in order
Sure.
to get out of that?
Well, the first step I always tell people is to acknowledge the story. You have to acknowledge and accept that it's there. Like, acceptance is the caveat to change. And until you can accept and see that there's an energy there that is keeping you from what you want, it's going to repeat itself. Like, that's the pattern. So you have to acknowledge that it's there. And when you acknowledge it, it's going to be, uncomfortable. But then the best part is that you can release it, right? That's the beauty. Like, allow yourself to feel all the feelings, like whether, like when it comes to money, my story was money doesn't grow on trees, right? But now what have I done? I've accepted the fact that, like, that was my story. So when I go to write my bills out, I get excited, right? Because I shifted my mindset, because now I understand that, like, it's a gift to be able to have the money to pay my car payment, to pay my mortgage, to pay for food, or to go out with friends. Like, that's a gift to have that money. And can I be grateful in that moment, as uncomfortable as it is, because that little shift signals to the universe that I'm ready to receive a more abundant income. I'm ready to receive whatever abundance you have in the form of money, right? Because you're being grateful for the little things that are uncomfortable. But the more that you're grateful for, it's like, oh, I'm so grateful that I had money to pay my electric bill this month, as you're writing the check. Because most of the time it's like, oh, it's the electric bill went up and it's so expensive, right? That's one energy. Can you sit in that moment and be like, I'm so grateful that I have the money to pay for this, right? Thank you, Creator. Thank you, Universe, for giving me the ability to pay my electric bill this month. As you sign your name on the check, you put it in the envelope, throw it in the mailbox, and go on your way, right? That sends out a different signal. It's like, oh, she's ready
Yeah.
to receive. He's ready to receive. Give him more, right? And that's what we want, right? It's but it's accepting that at one point I had this story. And when you can accept, you can release it. But it's until you have that full acceptance that you created it, whether consciously or unconsciously, it's there. And you have to accept that it's there, because now it's your responsibility to release it and change it.
And yeah, and I see that when you talk about releasing and changing it
Mhm.
without the pain,
Exactly.
without that challenge, without that test or whatever you want to call it, are you ever going to tap into it and be able to open up to that dimension? Because if you're living your day-to-day life by a certain routine, you might
Mhm.
not ever pay attention to it. But when something happens that causes you pain, you suddenly open up to it, because now it's like, you can feel it, not
Mhm.
just physically, you can feel it emotionally, physically. So pain in that sense is not a bad thing.
Right.
It's an opportunity for you to liberate yourself from
Yes.
those patterns.
Yes, absolutely. Liberation is the perfect word. It's liberating. When you get to that point where you can see the pattern, that's when you know you're about ready to change. And that's when you know that you're ready to catapult to the next level version of you. And we're meant to have everything that our soul craves and desires. And if we don't see that, right, we're going to just keep repeating the same patterns. And we're meant to be abundant. Like, that is our birthright. Is our birthright here when we arrived here on this earth, to be able to experience all of it, to experience the love with our soulmate, to experience the, six-figure $1 million salary a year. We're meant to experience that. We're meant to experience the life that we've craved, right? But the only things that are holding us back are the stories that we have, which are really the lessons. So I don't want to say that they're stories. We are incarnated here on this earth with lessons that we need to learn. And until we see them as lessons, more than likely you'll be reactive, right? You'll be reactive or judgmental towards yourself or others, angry, frustrated. Why are things not working out for me? Until you can stop, take a pause, and be like, okay, this was a lesson that maybe I needed to learn in this lifetime. And this was one of the biggest shifts for me, was just that. Like, I was constantly blaming myself for the way things worked out. It's like, well, this didn't work out. Like, there's something wrong with me. And I was constantly putting myself down. But it wasn't until I started to understand this one little piece of information was that this was a lesson that I was meant to learn in this lifetime. And until I could take that information and actually apply it as such, could I let go fully of the blame that I had towards myself. Like, I was meant to experience these things because I was meant to learn this lesson that I I am this abundant being. Like, maybe me struggling with money was just part of the lesson that I am abundant and that I have the money and that I have that, source, right? And that energy of money comes from self-love, right? If we don't love who we are and we're constantly beating ourselves up, like, we're actually blocking everything that we want in this life. And self-love is a big part of the manifestation process. Self-love determines your value and your worth in every situation. And it determines how you show up in the world. You can show up as this confident, sexy being, or you can show up as, someone who's afraid and nervous and insecure, right? They're two different energies. But as we spoke before, like, there's that energy of certainty. If you can step into that energy of certainty in every situation and love yourself enough to show up as the creator wants you to, it's like the rocket's there to take off, and you're catapulting yourself into a whole new reality for yourself.
Yes, beautiful. I really resonate with the aspect where you said that in the beginning you mentioned that we have these ideas and beliefs about ourselves and who we are.
Yeah.
So we think let's say I have a desire for something, but then somewhere there are certain people out there who have, especially I feel, especially once you're on the spiritual path,
Mhm.
there's a lot of people who judge themselves for having desires in the material world
Yeah.
because they feel that now I am spiritual and I should only be focusing on the spiritual realm.
Yes.
So I should not be having a desire to manifest a car or a house. These things are material, they don't matter. But I love what you said, that whatever you desire, you are meant to have it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, that desire would not be there.
And that's our desires come from our soul, right? Especially the big desires, like for love and for success. They come from here because that when we are successful, we share that success with the world around us, right? We share that success with our friends, our families, our strangers, right? Like, we're more in that energy of being able to give and to serve, right? So when we're in a giving energy, like, we get that back, right? That's the receptivity is, and it's the cycle, right? If we give, we receive in return. It's it's okay for us to have that desire for the car or the home that we love, right? We're allowed to experience that. And I understand, like, on the spiritual path, it's like, well, I shouldn't have these material desires. It's okay for you to have those material desires. Like, you're allowed to. It's part of that judgment towards ourselves. And it's what society says. Oh, well, you're spiritual, so now you can't have, the car that you want. Like, well, there's no, manual that says that. It's just a story that someone picked up, and the story grew legs and started, like, moving through earth. And it's like, oh, suddenly, like, you're spiritual. You can't have, the car that you want or the money in the bank that you want. And the creator's like, I created you to be abundant. Yes, you can have the car you want and the money that you want because that money's going to serve your family, right? You're going to be able to put
Mhm.
food on the table. You're going to be able to build a home that provides safety and security for your family, right? A good car is going to get you from point A to point B safely and securely for you and your family. And safety and security is one of our basic needs. And the creator's providing that for us, and it's okay. The only people that are keeping us from what we want is us and our stories around it. And in this case, I think it's a story of more society than anything that says that, you're spiritual, you need
Yeah.
to live a spiritual life, which means that you receive it all and give it all away. And that's
Dang.
I don't believe that is the case. We're meant to be abundant beings, and the creator gave us that. The creator gave us that ability to share that gift with the world and to share that wealth with the world. So as long as our cup is completely filled up, it's so much easier to give selflessly to others. So if you imagine, this is my cup, it's filled up. And every morning I fill up my cup with the creator, right? I talk to the creator. I pray in the morning. I have that conversation. How can I serve the world around me today? And when my cup is
Mm,
filled up, I'm not looking for that fulfillment outside of anybody else but me, right? So it's my job to fill up my cup. I eat healthy. I go to the gym. I do my yoga. I journal, and I do work that I love because it fills me up. And this is my purpose, right? But in doing that, I can give selflessly to others around me, and I don't expect anything in return. And that's the unconditional love that we're meant to share with the world around us.
mm. Yeah, I love what you said, that there was a point where you realized that giving comes if your cup is full. Until that cup is full, you're always seeking
Mhm.
to get something from other people. And I wanted to just point out for those who are listening, like if you don't have a desire for a car, we are not telling you that you should desire for a car.
Yeah,
No, it's but whatever you desire, you're free and meant to have it. So that's
exactly.
kind of, I think that that can be a misconception, that if now somebody can have a desire that comes from self-empowerment, but it can also be a desire that comes from lack, which is I need this car to prove my parents, to prove the society that I am wealthy, or I need a partner to prove that I am worthy.
Right.
So it depends from where your desire is coming from. And I think that's also an important point to keep in mind when a desire comes up, for you to also look at where is that desire coming from.
A 1,000%. A lot of times our desires come from lack. A lot of times our desires come from that state of I am already fulfilled. And that's what I do is I want to teach people to get to that state of fulfillment within themselves, because that is the attraction point. Because then you're not seeking the things outside of you to fill you up. You're filling your cup every day with the creator, and you're having that conversation, and you know that you're full, whole, and complete. And what happens is things start to shift so that you can experience that wealth. You can experience that love that you've always desired. You can experience the fulfillment in those trips that you want to experience, or spending time with friends, whatever it is you're being called to. But a lot of times our desires come from lack, that I need this to feel complete. I need to have a Mercedes Benz to show how worthy I am, right? I need to live in a big house to show how worthy I am. And when we're doing that, the outside is clear or clean, right? But the inside is still anxiety ridden and struggling, and like that's where the disconnect is. That you have to clean up the inside so that you can experience that big home or the Mercedes or whatever you desire from a space of that I am whole and complete. I'm full within myself. I'm giving, and I'm not seeking this stuff anymore. These things are a byproduct of the value and worth that I see within myself. And that's literally what it is. And many times we see the, what is it called? The shiny object, right? This shiny object's going to make me, woohoo, be like this amazing person, when it's like, well, I'm an amazing person, and the shiny object is just a reflection of who I am,
Mm,
right? And that's basically the gist of it. Like our lives are one big mirror of who we are being. So that's the shiny object syndrome when you start to align your energy within and you start to tap into your connection with the creator every day, the world around you reflects who you are. And that's how you manifest. You never manifest what you want. You manifest who you are. And until you clean up the
mm.
the inside, the outside can't reflect it.
Yeah, that reminds me of that whatever you're meant to have, you are going to have it,
Mhm.
but you have to make the space for it, which also means that whatever you're not ready for, whatever your vessel is not ready for,
Right.
you're not meant to have it right now. And even if you would get it right now,
You can
it
hold on.
might like you can hold on to it. It might just disappear, or it might even bring more chaos. Like more money doesn't always mean more peace and more freedom. It can
Right.
also mean more chaos if you're
Well,
not ready.
yeah, and I think there's studies that have been done, and I can't reference exactly which ones, but where people win the lottery, right? Where they come into all this
And
money, and then like a year or two later, the money's all gone. And why is that? Because their vessel was not able to hold that money, right? If their mindset's like, oh, well, the electric bill is going up like $100 each month. Like, like if that's the mindset you're in, you're not, you could have, it's gonna be like this. It's gonna be chaotic, right? There's chaos there. But until you can expand your vessel by releasing that story, that $1 million can come in the next time and it'll stay. And why? It's because you have expanded your container, you've expanded your vessel to be able to receive. And the same thing goes with the
mm,
relationship. You can call in your soulmate and it's all, sunshine and roses for the first like month. And then all of a sudden it's like, what the heck just happened? Like, you know, the chaos,
mm,
because you can have a story that, well, I'm not worthy of having a soulmate, right? I'm not worthy of love. I'm not worthy and deserving of being in a relationship, right? Or whatever story you have. Like that's the story. Like eventually, if that's your story, eventually the container is going to implode until you change the story and really look at the story that you're telling yourself that, yes, I am worthy of love. I'm worthy of being chosen. I'm worthy of being a priority. And you have to give that stuff to yourself in advance of it coming in from someone else. Like you have to give yourself that love. You have to give yourself that respect. You have to give yourself that feeling of being a priority by taking care of yourself. Like make yourself the priority. Do things that make you feel good. And in turn, what will happen is, things will shift. And then suddenly, what happened, over here, like you met your soulmate, things were good for a month, it imploded, doesn't mean that, it can't come back. It can, but you have to do the work to make it happen.
yeah, it reminds me of my wife who before we met, I mean, she was certain that we are going to get married.
Mhm,
And before we got married, she already started to live like we were already together married.
mhm,
So she would prepare the bed, not for herself, but for both of us. And even when she would buy something for the house or buy something for herself, she would always think about, how I would feel about that if that would be something that. So she kind of prepared the whole environment for me to come in.
right,
And so that speaks exactly into what you
and
said,
that's
what you just said.
that's exactly it. Like the creator has someone for you, right? Your perfect soul match, like on a spiritual, energetic, emotional level, physical level, like it's a perfect match. But if you don't believe you're worthy of it, right? That's where the energy is not perfectly aligned. It can't allow you to have that experience in this lifetime if your vessel is not ready to receive it. So it's not doesn't mean that it can't come back around. Like, that's the thing, and I
Yes.
want to say that to people because, I've had that come up where it's like, well, I lost it, and it's like, you just weren't ready to receive it. That's all. Your vessel wasn't ready to receive it. The container wasn't, completely intact. Like, that's all it is, right? So there was leaks in the container, and
Mm,
until you can, you know, really come down and be like, "Can I forgive myself?" For the way I've treated myself and the story that I told myself, and be grateful for every experience that you've had along the way, for all the people that you've met, for all the people who are in your life now. Be grateful for each and every one of them because they actually helped you grow into the person that you are today so that you can be ready to receive that soulmate relationship and live in that energy, right? By creating that energy for yourself. Like, when you get up in the morning, and you're making your cup of coffee, be like, I just love my life, right? I'm so good. I'm so ready to receive, right? That's my favorite mantra. I am ready to receive. Thank you, Creator. Like, I do not leave this door without saying that
mm,
in the morning because I am so grateful for the life that I have. Like, I see now everything that came into my life as a lesson, teaching me to who I was meant to be all along, without the stories of not being worthy enough or feeling like I had to prove myself, right? And a lot of times I proved myself by taking care of the exterior, right? Like making sure that I had the perfect haircut and the perfect car, perfect shoes, perfect outfit, makeup done to the nines. And that really was an external thing. I wasn't taking care of the internal, which was driving the
mm,
external. And the external for me was trying to prove to people that, yeah, I was this great person. But inside, there was a part of
mm,
me that didn't believe it. It wasn't until I actually started to believe that, no, I really am something special. And I finally can see that now within myself, that my energy has finally shifted, that, I
mm,
don't need to prove to anyone how wonderful I am. I know it. I know it. And I could walk around with slippers, which I've done, and go out somewhere with slippers on. I'm still good enough to receive everything that I'm meant to experience in this lifetime. So,
mhm. And one, you mentioned prayer
yes.
in the way that you use it for yourself.
Mhm.
In terms of practical tools and techniques, what are some of the practical tools or exercises that people can start using today to align their energy and tap into the power of manifestation?
Sure. Meditation is absolutely one of my favorites. And it's similar to prayer. Prayer is the physical action, right? We sit down and we talk to the creator and we say thank you for everything, and we set our intentions with the creator. I take it one step further and I meditate because it quiets my mind down enough to be able to hear the messages from the creator, right?
Mm,
It quiets my mind down enough to sit down and listen to what the creator has to say. And sometimes when we're in a world of we have competing energies, right? Everything that the creator has is right here in the center, but we have this over here and we have this over here. It's very hard to disconnect and listen to what the creator is saying because we have these competing energies. When we can quiet our mind down, we can actually connect with the creator. So I recommend meditation. And when I first started meditating about 7 years ago, um, it was not it was not good. It lasted 5 minutes, and most of the time I was thinking about food. So, but now I've been able to, when I wake up, like, I don't even have to get out of bed. Like, the first thought when I wake up is like, thank you, Creator, for this beautiful day
mm,
that I'm going to experience. Thank you, Creator, for, being able to serve in the capacity that what you want me to serve. right? And then I start to set my intentions before even getting out of bed about how I want to experience my day through the eyes of the creator. And it's
And
a practice. So don't judge yourself if you don't get it right. If you like creating any new habit, you have to take time and you have to set a timer for yourself every day. Start with 5 minutes. Meditate for 5 minutes. Just allow yourself to quiet the mind. Move from 5 minutes to 10, 10 to 20. Um, you know, I do anywhere between 30 minutes to an hour, depending on how I'm feeling. Some days it's, 20 minutes is fine. And I feel enough to get up out of bed and do what I need to do. And then there's other days where I need like an hour because I know when I wake up, my energy's like off. I don't know why.
mm,
So, yeah.
but it's beautiful the way that you describe the combination of the two, like meditation to empty yourself, to empty your vessel,
Yeah.
to remove whatever is block, just to quiet your mind, to open yourself up, and then also to use your intentions. Because the way that you talked about prayer is not like asking the creator to do something or to change something or to give you something. It's just in that sense to tap into yourself, to have the wisdom that you need and to be grateful. So the way that you describe prayer
Mm.
is very different than what I think most people think of prayer.
Well, it's what state of energy is it coming from, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes when we're praying, it's because, and I've done it, it came from a place of desperation. It's like, help me. I'm praying for this, I'm praying for family, I'm praying for friends. Whereas like it came from a state of lack and desperation, and I need you, creator, to help me. Whereas I've chosen now to pray in a different way where I'm grateful for it. Like because now I know with complete certainty that the creator's taking care of it all. The creator's taking care of it all. So I don't need to feel desperate. I don't need to feel lack. I don't need to feel scared or nervous, right? I'm very certain in the creator's plan. So, like, instead, I now give gratitude. It's like, okay, well, thank you, creator, for giving me this beautiful day. Thank you, creator, for my family. Thank you, creator, for my friends. Thank you, creator, for every experience that you've given me. Because it's in that moment that I shift from that state of lack and desperation, and I'm begging you to help me, to thank you, you've already taken care of it. Right? It's
And I would just add to that, even if you, let's say somebody who's listening to it and thinking, but my family is the worst, or my relationship is not, like, why should I be thankful for that?
Yeah.
But I would just throw in here that just being grateful for that opportunity to have that challenging situation so that you can learn and grow from it.
Yeah. And that's it. It's everything is leading us back to the light of the creator,
Mm.
right? And it's like, can we trust the light of the creator? And that was one of the biggest lessons that I needed to learn. That was really my journey in this lifetime, was I don't need to do it all. I need to trust the creator, and that his plan for me is really the plan that I was meant to experience. And I have a choice. Am I going to feed the energy in the story over here that's not true? Or can I take my energy off this and focus it where the creator wants me to be, which is over here? And it's already planned. And the plan for me is already perfect. It's that was a tough one for me because I didn't see it that way for a long time. Like I felt like I was doing it, you know, Susan here is like, I gotta do it all, you know. And it wasn't until I started to shift that, that the creators really like take my focus off of this and really focus on the light. And we've discussed in Kabbalah that, we can chase the light or we can chase the rainbow. And I was always chasing the rainbow, right? And it wasn't until I decided to take my energy off the rainbow and put it onto the light could I actually see what the creator had intended for me. And that was the truth all along. I just was not able to see it because I was so focused on the shiny objects versus what the creator had intended for me.
Hmm. Yeah. Is there any final advice you'd like to share to listeners who are just beginning their manifestation journey, or is there anything that you feel right now that you feel called to share?
Sure. It's trust yourself. Like trust yourself, even the moments where it's hard to trust yourself, trust that everything that's coming into your experience is taking you to the next level version of you. And everything is a lesson. Everything in life is either a lesson or a blessing or both, right? But we have to see that the obstacles that are coming in our path are a lesson for us to either choose to repeat it or choose to elevate. So trust it, trust yourself is my final advice. And don't be hard on yourself when things seem like they're not going your way. They actually are.
And what would be the best way for people to find more about you, find your work, or connect to you?
Sure, it's my website is www.suecarabello.com, or you can follow me on Instagram at Susan Carabello _.
All right, wonderful.
Thank you so
Well, I
much.
think that's it for this episode. But if you are listening to this and there's any doubts or questions that you have about what we've spoken, or if you would like Susan to go into other topics, let us know in the comments down below. Otherwise, it's been a pleasure. Thank you
Thank
so
you so
much,
much.
and
Enjoy your
looking
Saturday.
forward to connect again. Yeah, you too.
Thank you.